On this video, I'm going to show what I would look for body language when it comes to taking the proper shot when it comes to slaughtering an animal. A lot of times, people will think that they're not using a large enough caliber, when in reality, you just took a bad shot. It's a very small area of error in order for an animal not to go to the ground when it is shot. So I'm going to show what I would look for through body language to take that proper shot. And it's a very small change in body language that determines shoot or don't shoot. So I'm going to try to show this with the pig that we're going to make the video with. This video, by the time you're watching it, is going to be linked to an actual slaughter video. It just kind of all goes hand in hand, but we are doing this the day ahead of time because when it comes to going outside to slaughter the animal, I'm not going to worry about doing this whole film thing, so we're doing it a day ahead of time. This pig is obviously in my area already. Some pigs will be very uncomfortable, especially if you're trying to be a butcher professionally. They're not going to know you. Might run from you. They might come to you. She's already fed, so she has no reason really to be here. I'm kind of going off topic, but when it comes to feeding the animal prior, if you are a butcher coming to the house, I would prefer the animal not to be fed that day that I will be there. Why? I don't care about the guts being emptied or less food. It's not about that. It's about getting the animal to do whatever I want the animal to do to allow me to make the proper shot. And having food is obviously a way of reeling them in. So she's already fed, doesn't care what I'm doing, and she knows me. So we're gonna try to get her to show different areas of body language so I could demonstrate what we're gonna do. This rifle's unloaded. Okay, there are two main ways that I would typically put down an animal. Yes, there are other ways, but these are very surefire. They're quick and they're easy. One which would be, if you can get to an animal or it's a tight enough area, what I would do is I would go right behind the ear, right? And when this is already not the proper angle, this is just where it would be. What you're gonna do, oh gosh. What you're gonna do is you're gonna aim for this opposite eye. If I'm coming here, I'm going for the opposite of eye. If my rifle barrel's here, I'm picturing the opposite eye. So I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna come here, and I'm gonna fire, okay? At that point, your animal is going to go down. If it does not go down, you messed up and you just didn't go to a right angle. That is what you're going for. Again, here, this is if this was really gonna happen, I'd come here and I would discharge right now. This animal would go down. That's just with a 22 hollow point. That's it, okay? Easy, very convenient way of doing that. At that point, you would stick it in the chest or you cut its throat, whatever you want to do. The animal, let's say, is skittish and will not let me come near it. So you want this animal's head to be dropped, looking at you, nozzle, the nose down, right? If she's looking at you, trying to smell you with her nose in the air, though you could see her forehead and you can picture an X in between her ears, it's still not gonna make for a clean shot. If she does go down, whatever, he goes down, it's luck, okay? It's not anything else, it's just luck. It's just not the best way to do it. So right now, her nose is coming slightly down. I would feel comfortable taking the shot, right? And what you're gonna aim for in the forehead, you wanna picture from the ear, cross, eye, cross, and where it intersects, you wanna shoot, right? Now the way she's looking now, because she's more aware, is when you don't wanna shoot. These are the exact kind of pigs you wanna deal with, make your life way easier. So right now, I'm looking down onto this animal's skull. It would make for a fine shot. Her nose is down. All right, once the animal's shot, you gotta quickly do two things. When it comes to a pig or any animal really, you can come in here and you hit its heart. Or you come right behind the back of the ear and you come down and you get the jugular. I went ahead and did the jugular because it's a pretty surefire way of doing it. It's safer in general because a lot of times they'll be kicking and you'll keep your hand out of the way, but the heart is definitely the cleanest way of going upon doing it. Plus I want to show you something else, so that's what I did. Okay, so we've put this pig down with a 22, shot to the forehead, and a little trick to pull a pig out from a bad area. Maybe you can't get a winch to, can't get a tractor to, whatever the situation is, doesn't have a good pull spot for a chain, whatever. Take your gambrel, stick it underneath their jaw, and pull. Okay, pull them wherever you want to go. Nice part too, if you got a big gambrel and you have a really big pig, 2 people can get on this bad boy and pull. So pull her a little bit farther. Okay, I did go ahead and spray her down a little bit, get some of this blood off. You know, YouTube doesn't like that and doesn't always look that good. So, going in with my Victorinox stiff boning knife. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it in between my legs. This one is not as important really to hold because there's no weight. I'm gonna come in, just the tip. Be careful not to nick your meat too bad. That's about right. And I haven't done this in a year. Ooh. Coming through the back, same thing. Don't go too deep. I'm gonna cut this here. Watch your fingers. Grab my skinner. Now I'm gonna put the foot in between my legs. Pull back, just use the tips of your fingers because you don't want to get excess hair, dirt, whatever, onto the carcass. Okay. Always fold the hair back onto its hair self, obviously. Okay. Little hair. Here, same thing. That's the same thing. Watch, don't cut your tendon. Okay. Your Achilles, cut here. Just go all the way through. That's all you need. This hair will wash off. Not really worried. And that's it. I don't like to go too far at this point because I don't want to get a bunch of dirt and shit all over it. So that's it. I'm gonna go ahead, like we discussed earlier, on the previous video, got my bucket of water. Obviously, pull the water out. Don't wash your hand directly in the bucket because that's just, you know. So if you have a second person, what this person would do is take this hoof, they would pull it this way, and the person skinning would go ahead and work on the hoof. Okay, I'm having my wonderful wife pull the foot so that way it's a clean camera view for you. If you don't have somebody, then the foot is basically just gonna hang and you're gonna have to use more energy in order to keep the other foot, this foot out of the way. It is what it is, but it's very easy to get done. Okay. Here. Okay. Pull it out, extend in between your thighs or in between your knees, pull out. Same thing. All you need is the tip of the knife. This is really all I'm using. Here. That's good enough. Make your incision for your hole. Since this is going towards the ground, I'm going to lightly pick up the skin. Go ahead and drop your pig. And it keeps the dirt relatively off the carcass. At this point, hook your animal. Okay. Like I said in the last video, this is how I'm gonna use my saw at this point. I'm gonna come here, real quick, here. Done. At this point I have a hose available, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray this animal off a little bit. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come and check the legs. I'm just gonna use the end of a clean towel, knock some of that hair off. You could just spray it down, but I'll do that towards the end. Just get some of this off, keep the carcass clean. Okay, I'm gonna lift the animal up. This is about the working area that I'm gonna be at this point, so I'm gonna stop here and I'm gonna wash down the other side. I'd already done the one side, and now I'm gonna do the other in the back. Doesn't need to be perfect, it just, a lot of times pigs are gonna obviously roll in mud, and I don't wanna really fight that if I don't have to. Of course, she's usually not very muddy, but the day that you're gonna butcher, she of course decides I'm gonna roll in the mud right before you come out. Okay, I'm just gonna really worry about the area that I'm working at right now. Again, all we're using is Skinner, boning knife, steel. Again, we're gonna go back with our line work. We're gonna come back here and we're making a V, and we're gonna go right to the reproductive organs of this animal. This animal is a female. If it was a male, it'd be a little bit different. And I'll explain that when we get around what you would do different, but she's a female, so I'm gonna come around, I'm gonna do line work. Just the tip of your knife, right to the reproductive organ. Come here. A lot of way too is don't come straight in to make your line. Come towards an angle and just run your knife. It's gonna help you most likely not dig into your meat, which nobody obviously wants. Okay, so these are connected here. I'm gonna grab the entire female reproductive organ and I'm gonna go around the anus and that reproductive organ, okay? Come here, I'm gonna come around. And all you need is the tip of your knife. Okay, that's good enough. Now, I'm gonna come to the front, I'm gonna make an incision. I'm gonna connect these points to the back. Now, if this was a male, he'd obviously, well, no, he wouldn't obviously. He might have balls, he might not, and then he's gonna have a penis, obviously. So if he had balls, what I would do is I'd pull him aside and I'd come around and make my incision circular. Just not wide, just around, because I'd pull him aside. If he doesn't, his penis line is gonna come down, it's gonna end right about here-ish. I'm gonna come right to the side of it, doesn't have to be super close, just come to the side of the penis, and you need to be careful because a lot of times it's still gonna drip, right? So I would come around, I would make my incision like I'm gonna do now, so just pretend he has a penis. I'm gonna come down really lightly, and I'm just gonna do it like if he did have a penis, and I would come out, around, this way, all right? So I come around. It doesn't allow you to pop anything or put pressure along the penis, because at this point, you really don't want him to drip when there could be open carcass around. It could leave a little bit of must smell. So, but if it does happen, just wash it off really fast. At that point, what I would do is I'd come back to the other side here and come around like this, connect my points, and here would be his penis. I'd come up the sides of each and I'd flip it up over the back and then continue loosening it to allow it to hang towards the back where it's still protected by hair. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come down. Okay, now we're gonna take our Skinner and we're gonna work the thighs, the hams. You can work from the bottom, you can work from the top, really doesn't matter. I'm typically on a pig, if I'm working by myself, I'm gonna start with the back side instead of the front, because the the hair is gonna be in the way, and when you're cutting it this way, you're just gonna start nicking up the hair. It's gonna get on the carcass. So I'm gonna start this way. Just little cuts, get it started this way. You don't wanna dig in your meat, and you don't wanna cut up a bunch of hair. So just little cuts. Okay. Okay, nice. What we're gonna do is now I'm going to come to the other side. I'm gonna do the same thing. Figure leverage points, wherever you see that you're able to take hide in order to gravity to pull it down to make it go out of the way for you easier and work for you, do it that way. Okay. Like that. We don't want that. But we got it, so it is what it is. A little rusty. Okay. Now at this point, I'm gonna start going towards the front. Come here. And when you're pulling, pull while you cut. Okay. Get it out of the way. Always try to fold it again, always the hide onto itself. Okay, at this point, I'm gonna come across, I'm gonna pull. You can see it's already just starting to pull off, right? That's really easy actually, surprisingly, typically not that easy. I'm gonna pull because it's gonna allow the leverage, just allow the hide to come off. I'm gonna do cuts. Okay, I'm gonna fold it onto itself, come over here. Here I'm gonna do the same thing. So when it comes to the belly, what I typically like to do is I like to just begin it, and then I'm gonna go to the other side and we're gonna catch up. So for that to happen, I'm gonna come across, have the skin, and I'm just gonna run the knife lightly down it so I don't have to play with it. I just come back and get to work. That's about as far as I'll go. So then it's easy just to come back, continue. Okay, on this side, it's really whatever feels comfortable. You come up to the top, you could do it like this. I'll come to the bottom. And again, I'm gonna come here, leverage point. It's gonna bring down the weight. I'm gonna come here, pull. At this point, you can see there's gonna be a leverage point here. Just take that, allow this to work for you to pull down, to pull weight down. Now at this point, I personally like to work top down on the off side. Yeah, that'd be my off side, the left side, hanging. And I'm gonna work my way down. I'm gonna do the same thing, stay towards the hide. A little bit, just little bits. Okay, now we're at this point where I'm gonna start opening up the back. I'm pretty rusty at this, so forgive me for kind of jumping around here, but so now I'm gonna come here. I'm working my hams. At this point, leverage, I want more weight pulling towards the back. I'm gonna come here. Stay along the skin or the hide the best you can. At this point, I'm going to attempt to do longer strokes. If you can't, just go thinner. Okay. This point, I'm going to come back. Said, just tip of your knife, work it. I'm staying at about a 45-degree angle from the hide and the carcass. Okay. I'm not going to worry about too much down here. The reason why is because there's no reason to exert more stress onto your own self. We're going to lift the animal up. We'll worry about that when we get there. So we're just going to continue here. Ooh, got it a little carried away there. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to stop. It's pretty much right where the tail is. I'm going to stop on this side, wash my hands. Okay, and then we're going to continue on the other side. Okay. At this point, hams are pretty freed up, our tail's freed up, and the anus is out of our way. I'm going to come here, taking off the tail. So at this point, we have most of the animal opened up for us to get to. We're going to continue working, but now that we have the animal off of the ground, I'm going to go ahead and spray her down because it's still all protected. Watch your water pressure so you don't just splash a bunch of shit everywhere. Okay, and down the legs. All right, so what I like to do now is I'm going to take the tip of my knife, whatever knife you want, this is what I'm using. I'm going to start at the bone tail, just the tip, and you're going to come straight down through the hide. Follow the spine, take your time, so while you're not cutting into your loins, it's obviously a good area of meat that you don't want to just smash your knife into. Okay? Follow the spine down, right to the back of the head. So at this point, I have most of this opened up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come here. I'm going to start working this chest area near your brisket. I'm going to open this up a little bit. Okay. Up. Careful here not to nick too much. This is your bacon at this point, so we're trying not to get too many nicks. So that way, when you slice your bacon, you don't have these weird cuts through it. Okay, it's pretty good. So I'm gonna come back to the back end and I'm gonna connect all this together. That's where we had made our slice, or our backbone cut. Boom. At this point, I'm gonna do the front shoulder, the legs. So you're gonna figure out what works best for you. I like to bring it up, kind of have an idea where I like to go. What I like to do here, pull this, cut this, just follow this muscle right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come down, okay? That's really all I'm going to worry about right now. Come to the other side. At this point, I like to come in. Watch yourself, because now you're going to be cutting towards your legs. And you don't want to cut into any serious artery. I'm just going to work this. Okay, I'll come here. at this point, I'm gonna start pulling back the hide from the shoulders. Coming to my other side. All right, now we pretty much have the entire front area of this pig skinned out. Again, we're gonna come down to its legs. Off. Off. Like I said, you could easily hit the joint and break it off. But you know what? Saw blades are way cheaper, so I don't care. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we are going to pull this hide from the back of the pig. What you're gonna do is you're gonna roll this to itself, like I said, opposite of what I said before. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull, and when you pull, you're gonna pull in, right? Stop moving, pig. Don't let the hair touch too much here. Like so, okay? At this point, do it again. Roll up, careful, down. And again. Okay. Now, there's a couple reasons why you do it like this. One, the back fat cap looks perfect, right? So if you have a pig that doesn't have excess fat, when you're cutting it and you're cutting your chops, your fat just looks beautiful. That's one. Two, if a pig is on the leaner side and you're able to pull this off in this fashion, let's just say you're not gonna remove any of the fat cap from pork chops or loin roasts or whatever, you don't have these little nicks that are weird to take off or are gonna end up looking like jacked up chops. So that's what we do. Again, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna pull towards me. Again. Okay. Now let's say you're having a tough time. You're pulling, you go to pull and you just feel the jerk and it's not letting you go. Typically what you need to do is you need to come back to your belly area or up in your ham area up in here, and you need to remove a little bit more of that hide. That's typically what's holding it back, all right? Same thing, you need to skin out. We've skinned out basically most of this belly in order to do that pull. So again, go back, if it's not coming off, hit it like that. Sometimes if you do have a really lean pig, that's kind of a pain in the ass, and it might not allow you to pull very clean. And you have to be careful too, because if you have a lean pig, if it does let you pull easily, what you will pull is you'll start ripping out that meat from the loin. And so you need to pay attention and not just give it all you got. You have to give little bumps, so that way if you see it start pulling, you're able to just use your knife to release that area, so you don't have just this big tug of loin meat. It's not cool, okay? I'm down the middle. I'm just going a little bit. Shall I hit bone? Okay. Beautiful. First things you want to do, well, not the first thing, we're going to release the guts out of this animal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the anus area. I'm going to look through and I'm going to start pulling. Here, I'll drop the pig a little bit. Okay. Might be a little dark, but I'm gonna start pulling, and I wanna see if there's gonna be any area that might still be connected. Okay. A lot of places, if it's gonna be anywhere, it's gonna be at the very bottom where the tailbone is. It's gonna be your spot that's gonna be held the best, okay? Now, couple ways to release your guts. Take a knife, preferably something pointed, take 2 fingers, stick it down keep this pushed up onto the front cavity of this carcass. You're gonna stick your knife, just the tip, and you're gonna follow it down, okay? These fingers are basically keeping the front of the fingers towards the front of the carcass, and the rest of the fingers are kind of pushing these guts back so you don't pop anything. You could take a knife, you could use whatever knife really. You'd stick your hand in, let me find where we were. Stick your hand in, and you want to use just the back of the knife. Your fist is pushing against the guts to keep it out of your way. And you're just going to push down. Okay? That's my preferred way, but there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So that's, everyone has their choices, what they want to do. Okay? Just showing you a couple. Okay, so our intestines have fallen out. You reach back and you're gonna have your anus. What you're gonna do is you're gonna pull, right? If this does not come out easily, when you go to pull it, if it doesn't come out just as easy as it did, go back to your anus and check to make sure, because it's hung up somewhere. That's the reason why it's not coming out. At this point, I'm gonna pull down. Don't get too aggressive because it does rip really easily. And there's this bunch of fat in the back. Grab a hold and just use the tip of your knife and get in there so you don't nick anything. Pull everything out while you're doing this. Get this other stuff out of the way. Now, okay, here you're gonna get into your kidneys, right? Here and back in here, right here. One's always hidden by more fat than the other, okay? Easy, go ahead, reach in. Pull. Okay, kidney. One kidney, you can clean the fat up. I'm not really worried about doing that right now. So if you want to keep your kidneys, that's where you're gonna find them. That's your first major organ that is going to be accessible at this point. For you to remove, I should say. Okay, kidney. It's gonna be the same thing on a goat or a beef, same exact thing, you're gonna find them. They're obviously just gonna be bigger. Okay, at this point, use your knife, come back towards the bone, towards the loin. Now be careful because your tenderloins are here. This is just meat that's holding, this is nothing. It's just part of the diaphragm, okay? Come down. All right. At this point, be careful. Oh, you're fine. So you want to be careful. Under here, you have a stomach sitting, right? Here's part of your stomach. Be careful when you're going to come in to release this. Okay, this is stomach. Pull it out. Get out of the way. Okay, your diaphragm is still holding everything up. So I'm going to come here. And I'm going to release these. Okay. Here, you can come here, careful here because it starts to get tight as it comes out. We're going to free this. Is your liver. All right. Tip of your knife. Okay, this is your liver. At this point, I'm gonna come back in. Our lungs are being held. Come back. Okay, now, at this point, I like to wipe my hands off real good. I go ahead and I reach all the way in there. I grab a hold of the esophagus and I'm gonna pull up on this. So, like so. Got a hold of my esophagus. I'm gonna pull. Sometimes you could wrap your hand around it, pull. Esophagus out, okay? here is your heart. It's always going to be encased. Knock it out. Heart. Come to the top. Cut off. Shake out your extra blood. Let it drain. You want to get that out. Okay? Heart. Now, other than that, that's really all I'm concerned about personally on this animal, because it is my personal animal. I'm not going to clean out the intestines. Don't care about the spleen. Just don't care. Okay? To each their own. You want to keep them? Keep them. All right? And I don't know anybody that wants them. So at this point, I'm going to pull down. This is just fat. And here, where the diaphragm still holds everything together, cut it off. And that's it. That way everything is still stuck together. You can just pick it up and get rid of it. So all we really have left at this point is to skin out all the way up to the head. All right, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start from the back. Now, at this point, I like to go all the way to the neck. There's a lot of meat right there that you have to cut through, all the way to the neck. On pigs, lambs, sheep, goats, I cut the meat to the neck, I whack it off. On a cow, I will go to the joint and I will just dislocate the joint with the knife. It comes off just fine. Okay, here we go. Okay. At this point, I like to go through the animal, look at the outside of the carcass. If there's some hair, I pull it off. Some people will spray their animals down, some people don't. It's personal preference. You do whatever you think. There's really not much hair on this thing, which is what we go for. This looks pretty good. Now we're gonna split the animal. Come back, we know this is good. Make sure that it goes all the way to the H-bone. You wanna make your saw work as easy as possible without having to cut flesh. Makes no sense. So I'm gonna come to the top. I'm gonna find my connective area. It's right there. I'm gonna come through. That's it. Like I said, you don't want your knife to work harder than it has to, or you don't want your saw to work harder than it has to. We already went through the type of saw that I'm using. 99% of people aren't gonna just have this. Like I said before, Sawzall is fine. Really long hand saw. I mean, you can use a chainsaw. They just do a mess, just make a mess. Biggest thing for people who have not used a Sawzall or any kind of saw, allow the saw to do the work. You don't want to put a lot of pressure down on the saw. If you are new to using a saw, let's say a Sawzall, make sure you have extra blades because a lot of times they like to either bind up or break. So just make sure you have some extra on hand, because when you spend the money on a machine to make your life easier, you don't want to have to result in using an axe or a saw or hand saw. So let's get this thing split. All right, I'm gonna give it a little wash down. Oh, we went a hair off center, but it's nothing bad. The loins are still fully intact. Nothing that we won't be able to fix on the cutting table. Okay. Okay, now I like to do is I like to come in here and I like to move little bits. Well, come here, get any big veins or get that out of here. get any weird things that we left that are just... Now this is making sure you have your entire esophagus. All right, overall, I'm very happy the way this pig has turned out. You can grab a, well, just through experience, you can grab a hold and you can feel that the belly is well developed. It's heavy. It's gonna be a nice piece of bacon. The back fat, to me, is perfect, okay? It's enough to get off, enough to take off that we can either add to sausage or make lard. There's plenty of uses for it. I know people that make soap, so I give that to them. It's not excessive, and it's there. That's the main thing. You always rather have more fat than not enough fat. So overall, hams are good size. I'm super happy with the way this pig has turned out. We fed this pig out for 8 months, I think it was. 8 months. 8 months. It was a Berkshire ham cross. We started out obviously just with pellet feed for about a month and a half-ish. And then we went to corn, soybean meal, and then eventually added molasses to the mix. So it should be a pretty good pig. But that's the way we did it. If anyone has questions, make sure you ask. I do not have a walk-in anymore because I no longer have a meat shop. And I'm not gonna bother a friend of mine that has a walk-in, a little, personal walk-in for a pig. So I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do in order to do this, which is the same way I started before I had a meat shop, when I was processing illegally because the government sucks, out of my house. So I'm gonna show you a way that this works, and it's worked many times before. So let me get all the stuff and we'll go from there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I have these bins that I had from the shop. You could buy a little bit smaller ones if it makes your life easier. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut this pig into primals. So I've turned the refrigerator down to about 34 degrees. 36, it's fine, it's no big deal. I'm gonna do primals. I'm gonna put the meat in these, and I basically took a bunch of stuff out of the refrigerator or kept it to a bare minimum, and I threw it in there. Before, when I was doing this, when I wasn't supposed to out of the house, I had got multiple of those cheap refrigerators, little white ones that you could find, and I would just set those up next to each other and I would do a couple pigs at a time. That's the way I did it. So this does work. What you want to do is once you put them in there, you want to make sure you get as much area of non-overlapping meat to cool. Once you put them in there, make sure you go back in there, every hour or so in the beginning, and just move them for where the meat was touching each other, because you don't want to get a hot spot. It works, okay? I've never lost meat this way when doing a pig this way, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show you how I would cut this down into primals. Let's get this out of the way. Whew, okay. Oh, I took a good pig too. We're gonna go through this relatively fast. Primals is your main areas where you're gonna get your cuts from, more or less on a pig, okay? Made it easy. Primals, your hind, your loin, your shoulder. Those are your main primals out of a pig. Okay. Personally, what I'm gonna do now is, because I know how we're going to cut this, and I'm gonna most likely do boneless chops. So therefore, I'm gonna go ahead and pull my tenderloin now. Here's tenderloin. It's actually a pretty nice tenderloin. Obviously, this needs to get cleaned up, clearly. Using the saw just because I used the other one on the hide. It's not as clean as I would prefer it to be, probably. I don't know, but just in case. So, I'm gonna take off my ham and sirloin. Right here at this bend in the spine, right here, you can go ahead and cut there, and that's where your first primal. Some people do go one joint above, one knuckle, one whatever. Okay, can't think of the word right now. Some people go here, some people go right at that first joint. That's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come through, try to do long cuts. When you no longer hear that you're cutting through bone, stop using your saw and go down with a knife. Beautiful. Very nice. This will be nice. Okay, sirloin, ham, a lot of different things you could do with this, obviously, which we'll hopefully show in another video. Now to the shoulder, some people will go between the 4th and 5th rib on the pig. Some people will cut it this way. I personally roll it over. I cut it this way, and I do the same thing if I was using a bandsaw. I would run it down the saw like so. I would do the pig just like I showed you, with the inside cavity facing me on the saw. I'd knock it off there, and then I'd flip it over just like I did, and I'd run it down the saw this way, okay? Now, for this, what I like to do is I go right for the point behind the shoulder. I just basically eyeball it. Right here behind the shoulder, there's a little point. She's a fatty pig, so you're not gonna see it as well, but there's this little dip. That's what I'm going for. So I'm gonna come here. That's what I'm going for. All the way until you hit bone, then you stop. Then you're gonna take the saw in there, cut. Come here. Okay, done. That's the shoulder, okay? Sloppy, warm meat. Shoulder, you have your shank, you have your brisket, you have your picnic roast right in this area, and then you got your shoulder roasts. So that's what we're gonna get out of this. And then you have your loin primal. I leave this just as is. Okay, you can go ahead and break this down, and it depends on what you want to do here. You basically just figure a line here and come straight across-ish. I'm just eyeballing it really fast. That's about what I would do. Just boom, there you go. You have your pork loin, baby backs if you want those, and then you have your belly with your spare ribs. So if you want to throw them in the refrigerator, it might be easier just to go ahead and cut this down depending on what you're using, or if you're going to do a cooler, whatever you're going to do. But that's how we do it. So that wraps up this video. It's probably a longer video, but hopefully it was relatively detailed for you. So we're gonna get these into the refrigerator, and we will cut tomorrow. All I do is basically cool my pigs for 24 hours, maybe 48 if I can't get to them. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys for the next video, and you guys have a blessed day.